Is there one controller to rule us all? Well, find out next right here on IT Pro TV.
You're watching IT Pro TV.
Hello, there are so many different systems that are out there, but Cisco DNA Center is the one that Cisco is counting on to rule just about every device that's out there. And here to help us out to learn a little bit more about it, Anthony Sequeira.
Ronnie, I got to tell you, you've been blowing me away with those teasers.
All right. Yeah.
It would have taken me all morning to come up with that. And Ronnie's just like, let me make this up. One controller to rule them all. That was awesome, dude.
But it is the truth, right?
It really
the
is.
very fact is there's been so many different products over the years, but essentially now Cisco has said, look, the DNA Center is where we're pretty much heading.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, I'm pretty impressed with this product. And I have a history here. So I'm 50 years old and I've been doing Cisco for a long time. Like I was one of the nerds that like ran out for the very first CCNA exam. And that was a long time ago now. But what's one of the areas that I've always had to kind of be very well versed in has been management, Cisco's, management tools. And my peers used to poke such fun at me because, some of the early stuff was called Cisco Works.
Right.
And it didn't work.
Yeah.
So it was a really poor name choice. But then Cisco Works got a little better. And then Cisco was really upset that there was such a negative connotation with that name still that they renamed the whole approach to Prime.
Right.
Cisco Prime. And now we're seeing this third generation, if you will, and it's just gotten so much better. And they didn't just sit around and try and improve what they had. With the DNA Center approach, they're doing something that I've never seen them do before, and that is think about the entire life cycle of the device. The idea here is that you get your shiny new in the cardboard box Cisco device. You're all excited. Let's say it's a wireless LAN controller. You're all excited. You unbox it. You follow the installation guide. So you rack and stack it. You plug it in. And then automatically you go into DNA Center and it's there.
Right.
Through DHCP, it gets all properly registered up into the DNA Center. And now you go into the DNA Center and you completely provision it. And back up. You design where it's going to go in your software defined access. And then you provision it into that design. And then you put policy on it to make sure that it stays secure. And then you monitor it. And then you upgrade it. And then you retire it.
All through the DNA Center.
All through the DNA Center. The entire life. It's like, it's like my mom, and she may outlive me. I hope she does. She's just doing incredibly well. It's just this incredible over the entire life cycle of the device, this management tool. And I've got great news for you. You don't need to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to experience this. And what we're going to do together right now is, you can see I've gone up to Cisco's DevNet Center and I went to the sandboxes, and there is an always on, so you don't have to deal with any of the scheduling or anything like that. There is an always on DNA Center, and there it is. So they give you the URL and the login credentials. It's always running. And what you're going to want to do with this is a couple of things. First of all, if you want to go beyond Encore, okay, beyond what Ronnie and I are going to share with you, because you're super excited by this, great, do it. Notice up in the top right, there's this learn more about DNA Center. And I will be honest, I haven't viewed them, but I'm sure they're pretty good. Right?
Yeah.
They're free. That's good. Right. So there's these videos on deep dives into DNA Center. So please check that out. Notice there's tools that you can use. And Oh, I'm sorry. These are separate videos on like the different tools in DNA Center, but they do link to tools that you can use as well. Because here's the other exciting thing about this SD controller. This really is a software-defined controller that we're working with. The really impressive thing about it is it's built around all the latest really exciting cloud-based tech, meaning that it exposes application programming interfaces. And if that's something you're still struggling with, we'll have an episode on that later today. So it exposes all these APIs so you can really use it in a fully automated fashion. In other words, think about this. This tool enables you to do automation and orchestration against all your Cisco devices now, and you can interact with it in an automated and orchestrated way. So we're just seeing that more and more in networking today, where automation and orchestration are happening at absolutely every level. Super exciting. So when you come in here, what I would encourage you to do is just visit every major tab and just look around. Here's the design tab where we can build a network hierarchy and see it on a nice map of the world. When we colonize like Mars, they better update this product.
Probably.
So the network settings tab, the image repository where you're going to have all the software that you're going to be deploying out to devices, the network profiles. I won't go through all of these because we'd be here for a long time, but you get the idea. I want you to go in and I want you to just take a look at what is possible. And from a memorization standpoint, make some flashcards on this. I want you to know that those major tabs are design, policy, provision, and assurance. Designing the network like we talked about, Ronnie, provisioning devices into it, assigning them policy, and the assurance piece is monitoring them and using tools to test them.
Yeah, now this is kind of neat that the way that they designed DNA Center, because they actually thought about that life cycle and they put it right up there in the tabs. So even if you're not super 100% comfortable and familiar with, I don't know, the entire Cisco design lifecycle, you can put a device in and just click on those tabs and go, oh, here's what I need to do. And then when you're done, go to the next tab.
Yep.
And then you do that and you continue till you're actually done. And you'll see by the end of that process, your device will be fully provisioned so that you can manage and watch it through the entire lifecycle.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
It really is. And you might say, well, why did they put policy before provision? And that's kind of smart now that I think about it. I have never thought about this before, but I think where they were going there was you're going to want to implement policy right as you provision the stuff.
Right.
So they're like, craft your policy and then go ahead and provision. Pretty clever.
Yeah, and it makes it kind of nice for the very fact that I learned this from the Microsoft Word, that idea of desired state. So that way you automatically go ahead and say, here's how I want this device to be set up.
Yep.
So that way you already have that in there before it's actually even provisioned, so that as soon as it's actually provisioned, it's done exactly what it needs to. You don't have to go back and add additional policy in. It says, hey, this is already the way it needs to be right when it's provisioned. Is pretty darn neat.
It really is. And if you're wondering like, okay, could I do this in DNA Center? Could I do that in DNA Center? I want you to just play this game. Think about everything you would have to do manually when the wireless LAN controller arrives at your site, right? Think of everything you would have to do manually. Pretty much, I can't think of an exception. I honestly can't, other than rack and stack it, the physical layer. Once you do that, everything that you would need to do to that device is, you're able to do it in DNA Center. Even just some of the things you see and you think about, like, what do most of us do for our networks? We build an Excel spreadsheet that has all of the different IP addressing for all of our different VLANs. Well, you build that in the spreadsheet inside of DNA Center now, so you can not only visually track it in a nice table form, but you're also putting it in DNA Center because it's going to actually provision those addresses from there. So
yeah, it's amazing.
Pretty clever.
Yeah, there's no doubt that once you set up that pool of addresses there, it just says, all right, here's what's going to actually be handed out, and then you see it immediately. So the reporting aspect of DNA Center is amazing in terms of the granularity that you can get from it. You can see all the way down to the interface level on some of these devices. That's really quite amazing.
Now, a common question that we get, Ronnie, is, okay, well, yeah, fine and good, but that fancy tool's not going to work for my inexpensive little branch office router or my small office, home office router. Don't fall into that trap.
Yeah.
Cisco is committed to ensuring that every device they create can be managed with DNA Center. Every device. They're even going back to legacy equipment now and figuring out how to get it into this ecosystem.
Yeah, part of the idea there, right, is because everything is built upon that API, it not only gives us that visual way that we can do it, but now you can use Python if you want to actually be able to integrate in, and you can do all these programming things, which is the idea of network programmability and automation that we get to. So you don't always have to do this, but once this is set up, it's easy for someone like me that's not really good at it to do the same thing. It's easier for someone that comes from that DevOps background to do the very same things without having to learn an entire GUI interface as well. So it is so flexible in everything that it does.
You know, it just struck me that Ronnie and I, for the first time in Encore, sound like we're selling this.
Yeah.
You know, and I want to emphasize I want to emphasize to everyone out there right now that, yeah, Ronnie and I are excited by this. Clearly, we're not faking our enthusiasm here, but we're not selling you on this solution. If you have enterprise network management software that you love and that kicks butt for you, that's the technical term, kicks butt.
Yeah, use it.
That's fine. Go for it. Absolutely. And it's probably, you know, doing much of what we're talking about right now. This is not the only controller-based management tool that you could use with Cisco. So, you know, just keep that in mind. We're not trying to sell you on this tool. We're just excited about it. Cisco really is getting it right, you know, finally in the network management area. That's certainly exciting to me. And if you are interested in Encore certification, you are guaranteed at least one question on Cisco DNA Center. That's how it's going to work. So we wanted to make sure you were ready.
All right. Well, thank you again, Anthony, for everything that we actually have to think about when it comes down to the Cisco DNA Center. Now, we didn't get super in-depth into it, but realize this is such a big product that's out there. And you'll probably see more on this as you continue on in your Cisco learning and your track as well. But this is enough for this episode. So signing off for IT Pro TV, I'm your host, Ronnie Wong.
And I'm Anthony Sequeira.
Stay tuned right here for more of your CCNP Encore show.
Thank you for watching IT Pro TV.